Welcome to New York's #2 sports show. The Rangers do it again. They win in overtime. They win by a score of 5-4 to take a 2-1 series lead over the Florida Panthers. And the game-winning goal is by Alex Wennberg. So Wennberg scores his first goal of the playoffs. It's pretty remarkable when you're getting overtime winning goals by Barclay, Goodrow in Game 2, Alex Wennberg in Game 3. And look, a lot of the top Ranger players really have not done a whole lot this series. And it's players that you wouldn't expect that have stepped up. And look, this game was one where the Florida Panthers really controlled play, especially in the third period. Rangers had a 4-2 lead going into the third. Panthers tied up. Igor made a lot of big saves to keep it tied. And the Rangers find a way to get it done in overtime. The Rangers are 4-0 in the playoffs in overtime. And second round and the Eastern Conference Final, games 2 and 3 in both rounds, I should say. So if you're a Panther fan, it's got to sting, not only to lose 2 games in overtime, but this one is one where, Florida definitely was the better team. There was a lot more shot attempts by the Panthers. I think upwards of maybe almost 60 more attempts shot-wise by the Panthers than the Rangers. But look, it is part of what the Rangers do. And what makes them successful is they are able to kind of, weather the storm, if you will, and score goals. And yet again, it's similar players contributing. Barclay Goodrow, not only did he get the game-winning overtime goal last game, and that alone would have been sort of, like, if he hadn't contributed anything offensively for the rest of the playoffs, it's like, all right, you get it. But no, he scores 2 more goals in this game. And also Alexis Lafrenière, he scores 2 goals as well. So highlight reel type goals for Lafrenière. And Barclay Goodrow, not too bad himself. One of those goals was a shorthanded goal with an assist from Vincent Trocheck on that goal. So those two team up again for an important goal. But yeah, so that's 2 multi-goal games in these playoffs for Lafrenière. And then again, Goodrow has a lot of goals, especially lately in the playoffs. And it's just great to see. He is really raising his game to a big time level. Let's just talk about the lineup real quick. Jimmy Vesey was out, and he is going to be out. They're saying it's week to week. So I wouldn't expect to see him for the rest of the series. If the Rangers make it to the Cup final, that's a different story. Maybe he'll be back by then. But for now, Vesey's out. And Kakko back in the lineup. And that was in my opinion, the obvious decision. I know there was a lot of talk, when will Blake Wheeler come back in and this and that, but I think Kakko, it had to be him. And you know what? Good for him that he was involved. He doesn't get an assist on it, but he was involved in that OT winner by Wennberg. He made a nice play, showed some hard work to kind of maintain possession for the Rangers off the faceoff that they won. So the lines, the one sort of thing that we weren't sure of was, how would that Wennberg line look? And it ends up being, at least to start the game, it was an end to finish. Wennberg with Roslovic on the left side and Kakko on the right. So Roslovic, we haven't seen him at left wing as a Ranger, so this was the first time that we did. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see some changes because by the end of the game, Philip Hedl was taken off of that line with Kreider and Zibanejad. It hasn't really worked with Hedl. And, I think there's better balance. So for me, assuming that they keep these same 12 forwards. Now, what happened was Hedl got moved with Goodrow and Cooley, and Rempe only played about 4 minutes in this game. So I think that Rempe will be in for Game 4 coming off the win, and especially with Vesey out. I don't think it's sensible to go, let's say, Wheeler for Rempe. I mean, it can be done. I've seen crazier things, but I wouldn't do that. But again, it just bears repeating that, especially on the road, Rempe isn't really going to get a whole lot of ice time. He actually was a +1 and provided a nice screen on Goodrow's first goal. He also did take a penalty. We'll get into that. But I do think that next game, I would probably go back to if you're going to keep, which you're going to, keep Kreider with Zibanejad, and they've done it all year long, even though, look, those two have struggled. There's no doubt about it. They've been very quiet in the first 3 games of the series. And you can even, not in the case of Kreider, but in the case of Zibanejad, got up to a really nice start in these playoffs and has kind of, definitely cooled off. But I think that we might see Hedel off that line. Not definitely, but I wouldn't be surprised. And I would personally maybe go back to Roslovic there and have it be Hedel on the left with Wennberg and Kakko. That would be my preference, but we'll see if they do that. But yeah, like the Rangers just keep on finding ways. And this is big to go up 2-1. And they should be, going into game 4, it's not like the Rangers played particularly well. So obviously it's a playoff game. The motivation is going to be high, but they know they need to play better. So it'd be great to win game 4 and go up 3-1. And if they don't, you go, it's 2-2 heading back home for game 5. So not a terrible position either way. Very happy the Rangers are up 2-1 in the series. And look, the Panthers they're a very good team. But the Rangers, they found ways to score. And the funny thing is this, the Rangers special teams, although it did, they get that shorthanded goal, 2 power play goals for the Panthers in the first period. And we'll talk about those goals. And the Ranger power play, has not really done much of anything besides that Chris Kreider power play goal in game 6 versus Carolina. It's been really held down now for quite some time. For the second half of that Hurricane series and then beyond, and that, again, it's the top players. Artemi Panarin has been quiet. And that's the great thing is that they're getting wins with their top players not really doing a whole hell of a lot. Alexis Lafrenière, to me, he's like the most dangerous player on the ice. You put the puck on his stick and good things are going to happen. And also Vincent Trocheck deserves a lot of credit as well, where he finds different ways to contribute beyond that line, just whether it be just hard work on the penalty kill or, when they put him on a face-off, like we saw in game 2 with the Goodrow goal. And, so Trocheck out of the, because, in a lot of ways, the top 4 players, and Lafrenière should be included, but I'll leave him out for this just in terms of even veteran status and just what they're paid. In no order, it's Panarin, Trocheck, Zibanejad, and Kreider. And out of those guys, Trocheck's definitely been the most effective and the best of the bunch. And I want to see more from the Breadman, Kreider, and Mika. Before we get into the game, I want to talk about the defense. It's crazy that the Rangers are where they are when you consider what's going on individually among the defensemen. The one defenseman that unequivocally I thought had a really good game was Ryan Lindgren, who actually had 2 assists. He's the one that takes the shot on the game-winning Wennberg goal. But beyond that, I thought Lindgren, and maybe it's more just the lesser of all, just kind of comparatively he looks better than the rest. But I actually think that he deserves some credit. But the Miller-Trouba pair, again, as we've seen in the past, it wasn't good. Keandre Miller had a really tough time on those 2 Panther power play goals. Keandre, in both instances, is unable to clear the puck. Miller he doesn't play as well with Trouba. And Jacob Trouba had a really rough go. Now, look, Trouba gets a couple of secondary assists, but he took a lot of penalties. There's one we'll discuss that caused some controversy that maybe could have been a major. It was called a 2-minute minor. But Trouba, he had a really bad turnover, and he took a penalty late in the third. I thought Braden Schneider, was not the best. And so, assuming Zach Jones does not come back in the lineup, which, he's not gonna at this point, I would go back to Miller, Schneider, Gustis, and Trouba. Because at least it might up Keandre's game and Schneider. And I know that Gustis and Trouba might be a problem. I acknowledge that, but Miller Trouba just it gets too many minutes for what it provides. And so yeah, and all that being said, Adam Fox, he is not 100%, and he's doing the best he can, but he's not at his level. And I still give him credit because I feel even a 50% or whatever percentage you want to give it for Fox is still better than, let's say, Jacob Trouba. It just is. And look, I thought Trouba had a good game too, but this was a really rough game 3. So yeah, those defensemen, it's incredible the Rangers are where they are with some of the production or a lack of that they're getting from some of those players. And, I think Lindgren Fox was the only pair in this one that was, somewhat, that was representative. I'm not saying they were amazing, that pair even, but they were all right. They were more than all right. But the other 2, it was a problem. And the Panthers were taking advantage of it. So let's get into this. A lot of Ranger penalties early, and it would cost them. It would. So at 1:45, Braden Schneider is called for a delay of game. And look, Schneider deserves blame on this because he made a bad turnover that kind of led to this. I thought maybe they were going to call a trip on Adam Fox. They didn't. But then after the player, I forget who it was, gets by Fox, Schneider flips it out and it goes into the netting for a delay of game. So a rough shift for Braden Schneider. And the Panthers score on that power play. So early in the game, 2:50 in, it's Sam Reinhart scoring his first of the series, sixth of the playoffs from Barkov and Tkachuk. This is a play where the Rangers win the faceoff. K'Andre Miller is unable to get it out of the zone. He tries to rim it around the boards. It's stopped at the point, and just too easy for Reinhart to go in unencumbered. K'Andre Miller unable to stop him, and then Adam Fox, who was on the other side. I wish that, in that situation with Reinhart going by Miller, I wish that maybe Fox could have went over there. And I also think that it's maybe one that Igor would want to have back as well. We're not going to dissect it, but the Panthers take a 1-0 lead on that Reinhart goal. So again, not a great penalty by Schneider. And ultimately, it's a power play goal by the Panthers. Makes it 1-0. And I thought Florida had a really strong first period. It wasn't their best period. We'll talk about that. But I thought the Panthers were the better team in the first. But the Rangers are able to strike for two quick goals. At 7:17, it's Alexis Lafrenière scoring his fifth goal of the playoffs from Trocheck and Trouba. This was a nice pass by Trocheck at the neutral zone. And he finds Lafrenière with speed, and he goes by, I believe it was Tarasenko. And Lafrenière is so good with that backhand. And against Bobrovsky, you got to go high. That's the game plan. And they seem to be going for that. And Lafrenière with a really sweet backhand goal up top, glove side, to tie it up at 1. And then 25 seconds later, the fourth line scores a goal, and it's Barclay Goodrow scoring that goal, his fifth of the playoffs from Schneider and Cooley. So it was a shot from the point by Braden Schneider. Goodrow, and I've been saying this for the 3 seasons he's been on the Rangers. He's really good at those tip plays. Good at getting a piece, there is a skill set to that. We know that Kreider's good with that. Barclay Goodrow as well. And it goes off the post and in, and a nice screen was provided by Matt Rempe as well. So the Rangers quickly, and things were not looking so great. They're up 2-1. Then, though, K'Andre Miller takes a tripping penalty. He trips Anton Lundell at 7:58. So, again, a really, really rough game kind of all the way around for K'Andre Miller. But the Rangers kill that one off. But then at 14:07, Matt Rempe is called for roughing Sam Reinhart. And the thing with Rempe is, the refs are going to, they have an eye on him. They have an eye on him. And I'm not saying it's fair, but, Rempe's got to be careful, and he probably took it just a little bit too far. And so the Panthers have a power play, and they tie it up. And it's Sam Reinhart again. So the interesting thing in this game was you had 3 2-goal scorers. Lafrenière with a couple, Goodrow, and Sam Reinhart. So his 7th goal of the playoffs, assisted by Carter Verhaeghe. So this was a play where it's very similar, where K'Andre Miller, I think it was a face-off win. Miller is unable to clear it out. It goes off of the stick of, I guess, either Reinhart or Verhaeghe. And it ends up on the stick of Sam Reinhart, and he scores off of the skate of Jacob Trouba and in. So just a sloppy sequence there by Miller and Trouba, and the Panthers tied up at 2. So a couple of costly penalties by the Rangers, and the score would be 2-2 at the end of 1. And the Panthers outshot the Rangers 14-8 in that first period. But the second period was definitely the Rangers' best. And the shots were 7-5 in favor of the Rangers in that second period. And at 5:11, the Rangers get a couple of power plays. Kevin Stenlund interferes with Jacob Trouba at 5:11. They don't score on that. And then at 10:37, Alex Barkov high six Mika Zibanejad. They don't score on that either. So the Ranger power play needs to get going. It's not inspiring a whole lot of confidence currently. It's not just that they're not scoring goals. The chances really aren't that great either. And so they got to fix that. And I know that they can and likely will. That's the thing with this power play. They're more than capable. We know that. But, hey, they are on a bit of a cold spell. So the score remains tied at 2. And on a delayed penalty, I believe Jacob Trouba was the one that drew the penalty. Alexis Lafrenière scores again. His 2nd of the game, 6th of the playoffs from Miller and Trouba. This was a coast-to-coast goal by Lafrenière. Again, going in with speed, and his speed has gotten so much better from last year. Lafrenière, he's able to make a nice move around Dmitry Kulikov, a nice toe drag play, and then he goes by Oliver Ekman-Larsson, and it's another backhand goal. He likes going to the backhand, and that's just a highlight reel gorgeous goal by Lafrenière to give them a 3-2 lead. Then, at 17:35, Jacob Trouba is called for a couple of penalties. So it's one of those Trouba games where there was a lot of penalty minutes. He's called for slashing Sam Bennett, and then later on in the play, he elbows Evan Rodriguez, and Rodriguez was down for a bit, but he would leave for a little bit and return. But look, like, they might look at this for a suspension. I don't think he'll be suspended for this. And if he does, like, look, I don't mind Zach Jones being lined up, but that's here or there. I don't think it'll result in the suspension, but we'll see. But it was kind of a fortunate break that Trouba was the one that took both penalties. So it ends up being a 4-minute power play for the Panthers. If this had been, let's say, Trouba takes the slash and someone else takes the other penalty, or vice versa, then it's a 5-on-3 for 2 minutes. So don't underestimate that was kind of a fortunate set of circumstances that Trouba took both penalties. And not only do the Rangers kill off that 4-minute power play, which extends in the third period, the Rangers score a shorthanded goal, and it's Barclay Goodrow scoring again. Second goal of the game, 6th of the playoffs from Trocheck and Lindgren. So a really nice play by Vincent Trocheck to takes a hit, makes a nice pass to Goodrow. And again, this was a nice looking goal by Barclay Goodrow. A quick shot, a slap shot, and over the glove of Bobrovsky. I mean, what we're seeing from Goodrow is remarkable. He has really upped his game to a level that, I didn't even think was possible. Rangers take a 4-2 lead going to the third. And things are looking good, especially because the Rangers kill off the rest of that Trouba penalty. But the Panthers really get it going and totally dominate this third period. At 5:04, Alex Barkov makes it a 4-3 game. It's a 6th goal of the playoffs from Verhaeghe and Mikkola. And this was a play. The Wennberg line was on, as well as Miller and Trouba. And Barkov gets inside position on Vincent Trocheck. So even though it was the Wennberg line, I guess for face-off reasons, Trocheck had been on. And Barkov, it's just a shot by Verhaeghe, and it goes off of Barkov and in. And it makes it 4-3. And now all of a sudden, it's like, now there's issues. It's a 1-goal game with about 15 minutes left. And very soon thereafter, Zibanejad ices the puck. Then he loses the faceoff. And, maybe some blame goes to Philip Hedl as well for letting Gustav Forsling, he's alone. And Forsling is able to risk a nice snapshot by Igor. And you don't usually see Igor allow goals like that, but it was a really nice shot by Forsling, to be fair. Igor had a full sight of it, but that ties it up at 4. Forsling scores his 3rd goal of the playoffs from Tkachuk and Rodriguez. And so a couple of stats come to mind here. And it ended up working out for the Rangers. The Rangers going into this game were 40-0-1 when scoring at least 4 goals. And I'm glad that continues to now, of course, 41-0-1. The only loss that they had was a shootout loss earlier in the season to the Minnesota Wild. A 5-4 loss. So it's amazing. But also it broke a streak where when the Rangers, a playoff streak, I think it might have said 42 games, which is kind of crazy. And that must have dated back for a while. Where when the Rangers allow at least 4 goals in the playoffs, they've lost 42 straight. So that streak is over. But the Panthers are really taking it to the Rangers. Eventually, Peter Laviolette calls a very smart timeout with about midway through the third. And it kind of settled things down, at least for a little bit. Rangers played a little bit better, but then the Panthers found their game again. And there was a play where Mika Zibanejad, it appeared as if there was going to be a 4-minute power play for the Rangers. Barkov, high-stick, and Zibanejad. But the correct call was made where it was actually Zibanejad's own stick. He kind of high-sticked himself. And so that's off the board. And then Jacob Trouba with a really, really bad play where he turns the puck over, and then he takes a penalty. He holds Matthew Tkachuk at 14:23, so the Rangers have to kill it off. And they are able to luckily do so. Nice saves by Shesterkin. They're able to do that. And the Panthers, just the last 3-4 minutes, dominated the rest of regulation. The Rangers are able to hold on to get it to overtime. They needed overtime badly, really badly. And we go to overtime, and at that point, that's when the line changes were made, where Hedl gets moved down. They kind of rotate the spot next to Kreider and Zibanejad, and eventually you get an offensive zone draw where Alex Wennberg's the one taking the faceoff. And Wennberg is able to win the draw thanks to help by Kakko, who's able to keep it alive. He gets it to the point where Roslovic passes it back to Lindgren. Lindgren takes a shot, and Wennberg's all alone in front. and Wennberg is able to deflect the puck past Sergei Bobrovsky to give the Rangers the 5-4 win in overtime. That is a goal at 5:35 of overtime, Wennberg's first goal of the playoffs. So Wennberg hadn't scored in like 24 games. He only had one goal with the Rangers in the regular season, but boy, was that a big one. And from an unexpected source. And Alex Wennberg is a former Florida Panther. Had to feel really good for him. And the Rangers take a 2-1 series lead. So, an exciting game. Obviously, the tone would be a lot different if they lost this one. Because, look, if they lost, it's tough. When you have a 2-goal lead going to the third and to lose that one, definitely wouldn't have been fun. But this was they do it again. 4-0 in overtime. So the Panthers, who had that 11-game overtime win streak, now they lost 2 in a row in overtime. And look, Game 4 is going to be tough. The Rangers had a 2-0 lead versus the Lightning a couple years ago, and obviously that became 2-1 after a really tough Game 3 loss. And the Lightning just the series changed from there. And I'm hoping here that the Rangers, that the Panthers maybe start, because if the Panthers state of their structure and state of the way that they play, that'll lead to success for them. And hopefully they, maybe start chasing the game a little bit. Igor can maybe get in their head a bit, but this is a good Panther team that's seasoned and that's been there before. So, look, this is a series that I expect to go the distance. I think that this could very well be a 7-game series. But for the Rangers to win this one, to go up 2-1, really, really important. And they're going to need more production from the top guys. Like I said, Panarin, Zibanejad, Kreider, they're going to need more from them. I wouldn't be surprised to see a couple of line tweaks. And I don't think it's going to happen, but I really would like to see them go back to Miller, Schneider, Gustis, and Trouba. I think that ultimately that's just a little bit of a better combination. But look, it's definitely been a bit of a tough go for some of the defensemen. Igor Shesterkin, what can you say? Just, he ends up making 33 saves on 37 shots. But yeah, Rangers, they get it done again. And the hero in this game is Alex Wennberg. He scores the game-winning goal in overtime to give the Rangers a 5-4 win and to give them a 2-1 series lead.